but does it make it a good portrait palette is my question. Hello and welcome to my channel. Thank you for joining me in today's unboxing and demonstration of VIVIVA's new travel kit and spring pan watercolors. We're going to have a different unboxing location because my desk was occupied at the moment, so don't judge me and let's get started. If you joined the pre-launch list, they gave you a special discount including a chance to try out the metallic watercolor sheets for free, so you know I had to try my luck, and surprisingly enough I got them. The watercolor pan set retails for $25, but I received them for $22, and here's a comparison to the last one that they released. I was one of the winners to receive the metallic sheets. I think there were only 10 of them, but I don't see a price listing for these. So 10 metallic sheets and only 10 winners. I mean, how lucky am I to actually have won that? It's kind of crazy if you think about it, but I'm really happy, and I'm happy to be going over it with you guys today. And the travel kit itself, which comes with a brush, a sketchbook, 16 watercolor sheets, and a fine liner, retails for $62 but was $50 with a discount. And the colors that we received in this one is crimson, deep pink, vermilion, dusk orange, chrome yellow, yellow ochre, burnt umber, burnt sienna, light green, sap green, viridian, peacock blue, Persian blue, violet, magenta, and sate black. We also received 2 little postcards to color in, which I think is adorable and will definitely be using to try out these new materials. Here is my Inktober watercolor sheets. I wonder how similar the colors are, so I'll be showing them side by side too a little later. In the product reveal, they did say that you might be able to fit 2 in the little pockets, and I'm glad to say that although it's a little bit of a struggle at first and needs some breaking in, I definitely think I would be able to hold in 2 sheets. I'm not too sure about the sheets of the sketchbook paper itself. I'm not sure if I'm going to like that, but we'll see how it plays out. So we are back at my desk, ready to swatch all 3 sets, and we're going to start with the watercolor sheets, along with a close-up of the brush that is dry, and then now one of it while it's wet. These brushes came to a really nice point, and normally I don't like water brushes, but these were really nice and I didn't notice any shedding, so that's always a plus for me. So back in October was my first time ever trying out VIVIVA, and the product I ordered was damaged in their shipping containers. So I believe that was the problem that they had, so they gave me a $40 credit, which is what I used to purchase these items, and then of course some added to that. I wasn't expecting to get all of it, but I really found the colors just so beautiful, especially the watercolor pan set, which are light fast by the way, and I just couldn't help myself. Oh, and the watercolor sheets are not light fast, but they are also beautiful. My favorite colors from the sheets themselves were the viridian and the magenta, and this video just doesn't do the viridian any justice. I'm very impressed with how bright all of these colors are and how little it takes to pick some up, and it's really cool. As for the watercolor pans, which was the item that I felt I could not miss out on, the colors were so beautiful. My favorite from the pans was definitely periwinkle and permanent green. The periwinkle almost felt opaque, and actually some of these colors had a little bit of a gouache feeling to me, and I love gouache, but they are all transparent. They are just beautifully pigmented, and at the end of this you'll see a comparison of the colors in this pan compared to the watercolor pans of the last set, and I'm actually really happy with this and that I have both of the sets because I don't see many colors that are similar. They kind of go in the same family, but they're not the same color, which is exciting, of course. Next are the watercolor metallic sheets. These came for free, and not all the colors were super blinding. Some just had a nice shimmer to them, and some really packed a punch. I think these would be amazing for final details or adding like a little something extra to your paintings. I didn't get to play with these as much as I wanted to, but the swatching process itself was super satisfying. The thing I will say about these is that it feels like you have to pick up more pigment than the regular watercolor sheets, depending on how metallic you want your finish to look. And I'm going to move on to the postcards, but before I do that, here's a comparison of both watercolor sheets that I have. There wasn't too many similar colors in these either, except for that peacock blue and the light green. So the way I like to use watercolors is pretty straightforward. I like to spread a light wash of the, I guess you can say, base color, and identify if the item that I'm painting is a cool or warm color, and then build on top of that with layers, letting each layer dry at a time. It works for me, and although I hate taking multiple sessions normally for like any other medium, I try to make sure I stick to that process for watercolors because it's a lot easier to make mistakes and damage paper when you're working too fast and if you're not experienced with it. So that's why I like to make sure I take my time. So after I'm done with the first base of identifying the layers, then I'll move on to the next postcard and then come back to this one once it's all dry. As for the inspiration to this, I follow some cozy living spaces / home inspiration pages that give me the feels or the inspiration for the way I wanted to paint this. I wanted it to be a cozy, green-y cottage kind of feeling, and overall just something warm feeling because the cat sleeping was just too cute. Plus she had her coffee on the table and those little mood light bulbs. I just couldn't help myself. That was the vibes it was giving me. Anyways, back to the colors. I really have nothing bad to say about these colors. They're super pigmented and really fun to play with. I guess the only negative thing is that they're not light fast. So I wouldn't plan to sell anything made with these watercolor sheets unless it's a print of some sort. But on the flip side, these make great paints for on the go, and I don't feel like I'm wasting good material. I mean, it's good, like really good, but it's not scary. It's actually kind of inviting. So what's also good is that water brush. Normally, like I said before, I don't like them, and I use them as regular brushes by dipping them into water, which is exactly what I did here. But what I really enjoyed about this brush is how much of a point I could make with it. You could really make a nice fine line for the little details like the frame and the side table and the furniture for the legs. And I'll be honest, I thought it'd be way messier than it was, but it was an absolute pleasure to work with, and it was fun to work small with it. The real question on my mind, though, was about the watercolor pans. Sure, these colors make a beautiful spring palette, and I can only imagine all the beautiful florals and landscape paintings that will come from them. No doubt about it. But if you're new to my channel, you might not know this. If you aren't, then you know I love my portrait paintings. I mean, I love my still lifes too, but my portrait paintings, I love to do them. So I had to put these to the test. And while we're on that topic of portraits and heads, I've been thinking of taking the 100 heads challenge, but doing it 3 times. So that's 300 heads. Once in watercolor, once in gouache, and then one more time in oils. And all of them a la prima. Is that crazy? Well, in preparation for this crazy journey of mine, I created a Pinterest. I made a board of my own because I wanted to include all different kinds of head angles, ethnicities, ages, and good values practice, because that, my friends, is super important no matter what skill level you are at. Whether you want to do portraits, whether you want to do still lifes, just value and understanding depth is very, very important, and you can never get too much practice. I also included some very beginner-friendly portraits along with difficult ones, those mainly being, interesting lighting, expressions, and, well, teeth, because those are every artist's worst nightmare, right next to hands, which isn't in any of the portrait references, by the way, at least not interacting with the face, because that's not the focus of this project. That's a whole different other project. I'm also going to put them in order from easiest to hardest so that I can ease myself into doing harder portraits. That way I can get very familiar with the medium by the time I get to the more challenging facial structures. I haven't ordered them yet, but that's what I plan on doing soon. You're more than welcome to try out the board. I'll have my Pinterest link listed below, and please give me a follow. I'm new to that community. I mean, I surfed Pinterest before, but now I'll actually be using it to post different references, projects, and tips, and not just pinning cute and cozy fall outfits that I'll never wear. Anyways, okay, again, portraits, right. So I took one of the photos from that board I made, one of a child, and child portraits are super hard because it's very, very easy to age them. And that's a mistake I have made many, many times, but finally am understanding how to avoid that. Their faces are like almost perfectly round and their features are a lot more delicate. And it's harder to capture their likeness because there's a lack of facial structure. And so it's hard to accurately see the planes of the face when they're so young, especially in photographs. That's not the point here though. The point here is, will this palette make a good portrait palette? And to me, it's an easy yes. We have the right colors to mix together for a nice variety of skin tones, and adding that periwinkle to your mixtures makes such a beautiful neutral skin color. I mean, really, it takes away all the work for you. That periwinkle is a gem. Be very easy with mixing the greens though, because I tried to mix some of those in, but it's just so powerful. And I like the mixing palette that's included, but I think you're better off with a standard palette in my opinion, because the colors could easily run into each other if you're not careful. Great for on the go though, but if I'm at home, I'll be using a regular palette. Also, I'm not a huge fan of the paper that came in the sketchbook. It sucked in the watercolor a little too quickly for my liking, and it made it a little difficult to work out nice blends. But on the plus side though, it did dry a lot faster, which made it possible to do this portrait in just one sitting. So you gotta take the good with the bad and just get better at working faster, or use a super big brush to start. Speaking of brushes, although I love the brush for detail works and maybe even parts of the face, I think it's super important you add another brush that's bigger so that you could work your first layer much easier if, like myself, you like to work in layers. Overall, I love these products. I can't wait to see what people create with them, and that's my take on them. Thank you so much for joining me, and thank you for sticking it out this long. I hope to see you next time. Bye.